Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. In previous module, we have studied about different types of synthetic fertilizers, their positive effects as well as their negative effects, and we also studied that how the effects of synthetic fertilizers can be minimized. In this module, we shall be studying about synthetic fertilizers interactions with soil components. The learning objectives of this module are to study interaction mechanism of fertilizers and soil components, to study how these interactions affect soil health, and finally, we will discuss the hazards of fertilizer overuse. When we add a supplement in the form of fertilizer to soil, careful considerations have to be undertaken to decide which fertilizer would be best suited to the soil and the crop. There are 5 processes that take place when we add fertilizers to soil. Let me see them one by one. Crop absorb the fertilizers directly. It becomes part of soil reserve by interacting with soil minerals and organic. It undergoes leaching from the root zone with the help of water. It turns into a gas and get evaporated and lost to the atmosphere, or it moves off field by soil erosion or runoff. Let me come to nitrogen fertilizer. The compounds of nitrogen fertilizer bear specific behavioral properties and so are quite different from each other. This fertilizer is commonly added in the form of ammonia, urea or nitrate. The major portion of added nitrogen fertilizers is attacked by soil microorganisms even before uptake by plant roots. Under optimum conditions, these microorganisms immobilize some quantity of nitrogen by cellular functions, and it constitutes some part of the soil organic matter. Let me come to the phosphate fertilizers. Phosphate fertilizer is quicker in reaction, doesn't spread to larger areas, initially soluble in water and majorly in dissolved form, produces new compounds in soil. The phosphate fertilizers most commonly used are diammonium phosphate and monoammonium phosphate. Eventually, they become less soluble due to quick reactions with clays and soil elements. These compounds then cause slow release of phosphorus extending too many days or months. Potassium fertilizer. Potassium fertilizer is most easy and convenient to use and handle as it doesn't undergo any biological transformations. With quick dissolving property, the potassium ions either get solubilized in water or displace the cations in clay soil. The most common potassium containing fertilizer is potassium chloride and some blended forms including nitrate, thiosulfate, sulfate or phosphate. Let me come to the nitrogen interaction with soil component. When plants are grown in extremely nitrogen deficit atmosphere, the presence of a low ammonium ion and nitrate ion conditions affect various processes in plants. The concentration of nitrate is quite high in soil as compared to the ammonium ion. So, it freely diffuses along with mass flow to the roots. Plants generally prefer ammonium ion as compared to nitrate ion, though the preference varies with ambient pH and temperature. For example, uptake of nitrate declines with a higher uptake of cations instead of anions, the major cause being increase of calcium ions uptake by plants. The major soil component interaction in nitrogen fertilizers occur by ammonical nitrogen via adsorption to soil particles. It exists as a positively charged ion and does not undergo leaching in chemical form. It undergoes bacterial transformation and ammonium ion is reduced to the nitrate form. Nitrate nitrogen is negatively charged, is not adsorbed by soil particles and so is free to be leached from the soil. It also escapes to atmosphere by denitrification as the soils become saturated with water. When anhydrous ammonia, urea, nitrogen solutions and diammonium phosphate etc. are applied to soil, temporarily show an increase in soil pH in application zone. There is release of ammonia gas that can affect seed germination or roots by causing burns in the area where fertilizer has been applied. In case of urea, the nitrogen portion is entirely water soluble. When applied to soil, urea nitrogen is transformed to ammonium form and so is immediately available to plants, but major part of nitrogen may be lost through volatilization in form of ammonia. Most of urea is lost within 1 day or 2 following application and can about 1/3 of the nitrogen lost within a week after application to soil. This loss is enhanced due to warm, moist nature of soils, high pH and low cation exchange capacity or sandy soils and surface organic matter. Therefore, incorporation of urea or nitrogen solution should be done by mechanical mixing or by movement of water to avoid the losses. This figure shows the nitrogen movement in the soil. You will see that when the fertilizer is added in the soil, there is a possibility of this may be lost or a fraction of this is lost as ammonia by the process of volatilization. When fertilizer is added in the soil, it is converted into ammonium ion form, and this ammonium ion form is either may be immobilized by immobilization process to organic nitrogen, or this may be taken up by the plants as such, or this may be converted into nitrate nitrogen. This nitrate nitrogen form may be taken up by the plants, or there may be loss of this as nitrous oxide or nitrogen, or a fraction of this may also be immobilized as organic nitrogen, and there is a possibility that nitrogen, this nitrate form may be lost via leaching or runoff, as well as this ammonium ion may be lost as N2O, that is nitrous oxide. So, from this figure it is evident that once the fertilizer is added in the soil, it goes under a number of processes, and these processes include volatilization, nitrification, immobilization, denitrification, leaching and runoff. Phosphorus interaction with soils. The phosphorus interaction with soils primarily take place in 4 different pools on the basis of their accessibility to plants. Let me discuss these pools one by one. The first pool, immediate available phosphorus. The second pool, held on sites on the surface of soil particles. This phosphorus can be made available for uptake by plants through the phosphorus already present in soil solution, as in the phosphorus concentration reduces in the soil. The third pool, absorbed strongly to the soil particles and is less frequently extractable by plants, but with time can become available to plants. The fourth pool, through soil components and phosphorus complex, but is less available to plants for uptake. When soil becomes deficit in soluble phosphorus and phosphorus is added externally in form of fertilizer, it moves in soil through the major channel of dissolution. A second process called desorption is responsible for the detachment or attachment of phosphorus particles to soil particles, such as clay or specific minerals containing iron or aluminum. The process of weathering can be a major phosphorus source. When it breaks down into soil over a long time period, just as soil solution phosphorus can be replenished when the concentration of phosphorus becomes low, phosphorus can be removed from the soil solution if its amount exceeds in the soil solution. In the soil solution, when concentrations of phosphorus are too high, some of the dissolved phosphorus will form solid phosphorus minerals by a process called precipitation. Soil pH plays important role in precipitation of phosphate. At high pH, precipitation can result in the formation of soil calcium phosphate minerals, whereas at low soil pH, aluminum and iron phosphate minerals precipitate may be formed. The fertilizer bound phosphorus is absorbed by soil through roots in forms of orthophosphate ions, mainly H2PO4 ions, and to a lesser extent by monohydrogen phosphate ions. Phosphorus in soil must be in dissolved form in the soil for its uptake by plant roots. The dissolved forms of plant available phosphorus in soil solution are present in forms of orthophosphates, whether this form may be H2PO4 or HPO4 depending on the soil pH. This figure shows the phosphate movement in soil, and you will see that when the phosphorus is added to the soil as fertilizer, a number of processes take place. The concentration and phosphorus buffering capacity in soil solution are the most important factors controlling the phosphorus availability to plant roots. The phosphorus buffer capacity regulates the replenishment or desorption rate of phosphorus in the soil solution and dissipates in soils with a high buffer capacity. The root system size and root growth rate and the efficiency with which phosphorus is taken up by roots is an important factor along with soil moisture and the extent to which weeds, pests and diseases have been checked. When we add phosphorus containing fertilizer to soil, a very small portion remains in the soil solution, with a small part undergoing initial precipitation reactions in some calcareous soils. The processes of adsorption and then reabsorption makes phosphorus rapidly distributed between the readily available and less readily available pools. The soil pH is the major factor controlling these reactions. At high or low pH, the solubility of phosphorus becomes very low and the maximum accessibility occurs in the pH range of 6 to 7. The solubility of phosphorus in water ranges from 0 to 100%. The effectiveness of phosphorus directly depends on amount of water soluble content. This is especially important for short season, starter fertilizers, quick growing, restricted root systems, and for areas where rates of phosphorus are less than optimum. In polyphosphate fertilizer, about half or 3/4 of the phosphorus is present in form of chained polymers. The remaining phosphorus, that is orthophosphate, is immediately available for plant uptake. The plant roots and soil microorganisms produce enzymes that break polymer phosphate chains to monomer phosphate molecules. The polyphosphate fertilizers consist of both orthophosphate and polyphosphates in an optimum combination, and so are used as an effective source of fertilizer by plants. Most phosphorus containing fluid fertilizers have ammonium polyphosphate in them. Fluid fertilizers are easy to work with for farmers, and they get easily mixed with other nutrients and chemicals, so are commonly used in production agriculture. The hazards of synthetic fertilizers of phosphate constitute of less radionuclides could show increase in radioactivity near phosphate mining areas. Phosphogypsum contains large amount of uranium and is a byproduct of process using rock phosphate as a raw material. There is widespread of the levels of radioactivity of phosphate fertilizers, but in the long term they might be of concern because of their potential risk to increase natural radioactivity in agricultural soils. Now, let me come to the potassium and its interactions with soil. The constant fixation and release of potassium fertilizer through various reactions are shown in the figure. When the potassium fertilizer is applied, potassium penetrates into the soil solution. Out of this, major part goes into the exchangeable and some to the non-exchangeable forms. After crop cause removal of potassium that exists in readily available form, the reactions are reversed and exchangeable potassium moves into the soil solution. The parent material is broken down by physical, chemical and biological forces during weathering into fine fractions, largely sand, silt and clay sized particles. This breakdown results in the release of several chemical elements including potassium and the formation of different clay minerals. Sand and silt fractions. The sand and silt fractions of most soils are composed largely of quartz. The feldspars present in these fractions also contain potassium with other nutrient elements, but due to relative larger particle, the particles dissipate very slowly with slow rate of potassium release. Also, ability of sand and silt to fix potassium is low because of their physical and mineralogical properties or nature. Clay minerals. Clay minerals being the dominant minerals present in soil, generally in clay or colloidal fraction are very active in fixing and releasing potassium. The different types of clay minerals vary in their capacity to fix and release potassium. Every clay mineral has its own relevancy towards potassium fixation and release. Additionally, the clay minerals contain varying amounts of native potassium bonded between the clay layers. The illite and vermiculite clays, due to their crystal structure and negative charges among the crystals, can absorb potassium from the soil solution and entrap it between layers of the clay particles in the two adjoining mica or vermiculite layers of silica sheets. The potassium cations are fixed or entrapped depending on the relationship of the size of the hexagonal cavities. The kaolinite clay mineral in the soils has less tendency of exchangeable potassium to release compared to mica and vermiculite type clay minerals possessing soils. The soils with montmorillonite mineral contain large amounts of exchangeable potassium, but will fix only a small percentage of it. Therefore, most of the potassium held by montmorillonite clay is in an available form. This figure shows the potassium movement in the soil. You will find that potassium in soil exists in exchangeable or available form as well as in non-exchangeable or potassium or fixed potassium form, and these forms are exchangeable, and then potassium in soil exists in potassium soil solution, and from there it is taken up by the plants. The hazards of synthetic fertilizers of potassium. This product contains about 50% potassium and 50% chloride. So, potassium chloride contains very high amounts of potassium, resulting in an unbalanced phosphate to potash ratio. This ratio ideally ranges from 2:1 in most of the soil to 4:1 in the grasses soil. Since plants absorb calcium, magnesium and potassium largely in the ratio in which they are present in the soil, excess application of potassium in soil can cause deficiency of lead and calcium in plants with loss of structure. In plants, the root respiration and soil air levels are reduced, leading to production of toxic compounds. There is reduction in soil air and insufficient calcium affecting soil microbes and breakdown of organic matter and availability of nutrients to plants. Higher levels of potassium can also be harmful, as being soluble and highly leachable, it can affect plant growth if not supplied in optimum quantity. Once applied, it is rapidly taken up by the plants. So, dear students, to summarize this module, in this module we have studied the major processes and soil interaction mechanisms that happen when nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium fertilizers are applied to soil. We also studied about interaction mechanisms of nitrogen fertilizers with soil. We studied about the interaction mechanism of potassium fertilizers with soil, and we studied the interaction mechanisms of phosphorus fertilizers with soil. We also studied the hazards caused by excessive use of synthetic fertilizers and the harm to the plants and ecosystem. Dear student, in end, I would like to give you a small assignment. Please make a list of different processes that happen after the application of fertilizer in the soil, and try to understand the meaning of those processes and try to understand the conditions under which those processes take place. I hope you enjoyed this module. Thank you.